Hi everyone, it's Julia from Crosspatch. We're doing Wibbly Wobbly quilts today. Firstly though, a lot of people have been asking me about PDF patterns, and we've set up a page on the website with PDF patterns. However, we're having problems with international orders at the moment, which is being worked on as we speak. Hopefully it'll be sorted soon. If you have any problems with the PDF patterns, please just email me or message me and we'll sort it out. But there's only 3 patterns on there at the moment. Once the problems are sorted out, I'll put a load more on. Okay, back to Wibbly Wobbly, and I'll show you what I mean by Wibbly Wobbly, and then I'm going to move the camera so you can see how I make it. Grab yourself some Moda layer cakes for these because they are the perfect size. This is a Kath Holden layer cake, and I've made a little sort of baby quilt size Wibbly Wobbly quilt. I've kept a couple of the blocks whole because they're so pretty, and I put a bit of lace around the edge. Also, you have lots of leftovers because you have some trim offs, and with your trim offs you can make pretty little mats to match. So that's that one. So that's the pretty Kath Holden one. This one is a Kansas Troubles one, so it's more traditional Moda colours, and I've done 5 rows of 5 blocks on that one. Okay, so that's 25 squares I used up to make the quilt, and then I've just cut some of the squares from the layer cake up when I've finished, and I've joined them into 2.5-inch strips to make nice fussy binding. And then I made a little mug mat to go with it, and I made, with the trim offs on this one, I've made a cushion, and then on the back of the cushion I've just used some random squares that I had left. Hello Black Cat, that's supposed to be good luck to you all. I also made separate pattern hexiflower bowls and hexiflower little pin cushion with some of the squares I had left, just to use every single scrap of the layer cake. And this is one of my layer cakes that I've cut for Create and Craft, so that's the mat made from the trimmings, and this is the actual quilt, which I love because I love these colours, the sort of French generally colours, except it's a mixture of Dutch heritage and Macawa fabrics, Macawa trade winds and Dutch heritage fabrics. So that's that one. Okay, so let me show you the layer cakes first, and then we'll move the camera. So that's my layer cake that I've cut. So Create and Craft is next month. I think it's the 10th, the Saturday and Sunday, if that's the 10th and 11th, something like that. Kath Holden layer cakes, that's the leather and lace one, so that's a pretty pink one. That's the Kansas Troubles one. I've also got some junk journal Kath Holden ones that I've made another quilt, the quilt behind me, over that. The pattern for that is Charm Pack Shuffle pattern. That's another really easy pattern, so we'll do that again as a demo one day. Oh, dust from layer cakes. Right, I'm just going to move you down a bit so you can see my workboard. Okay, so we start off with, let's get a different board. Sort your layer cake into sets of 5 squares, so it depends how many blocks you want. So if you want the bigger, like the Kansas Troubles one that I did over here, it was 5 rows of 5 squares, so 25 squares in total. So you want 5 sets of 5 squares, and you put them on top of each other. So I've got right sides down, all of them right sides down, and I've drawn wiggle lines on the back of it. Now the wiggle lines are 2-inch intervals, so just mark 2 inches at the top and 2-inch intervals at the bottom, and draw a wibbly wobbly line in between. And then take a sharp rotary cutter and cut down your wibbly wobbly lines. Cut them all together because you want them all the same size, okay? So when you've done that, you're going to end up with your cut wibbly wobbly sets. Now I've shuffled these sets. Now to shuffle the sets, obviously when you first cut them they're all going to be the same. So to shuffle them, all you do is you leave the first cut the same. On the second row, take the top fabric off the second row, put it on the bottom. On the third row, take 2 squares off the top, put them on the bottom. On the 4th row, take 3 squares off the top, put them on the bottom. On the 5th row, take 4 squares off the top, put them on the bottom, and hey presto, you'll end up with 5 different sets of fabric. Okay, so they'll all be different variations, each one. So some you'll end up with, the red will be there, and then on the next row down, obviously it's moved to there, and so on. Okay, so that's my 5 sets of 5 fabrics that we now want to sew together. Now, if you're like me, I never use pins. I'll just pick them up, take them to the machine and maneuver them through. If you're doing this for the first time, you will want to use pins. She says, desperately trying to find one that she pinned earlier. There it is. And use lots of pins. Okay, so you can see it's wibbly wobbly. But you'll find it a lot easier to sew if you're not as random as me. Okay, so use 1/4 inch seams. If you use bigger seams, you're going to end up with smaller blocks. So when you've sewn them all together, you're going to end up with blocks like this. Give them a jolly good press. Now, your seam allowance, your sewing will vary to mine. So your finished blocks are all going to turn out at different sizes. The biggest I would suggest you're going to get is 8 inches by 10 inches, and you want to trim these down to squares. I ended up trimming all mine to 7.5 inch squares, like so. So that's a finished 7.5 inch square. And then you'll end up with pieces, strips like this, which you're going to use for your other projects. So you put them to one side. You'll end up with a load of these, and they'll all be different sizes because it depends how neat you are in your sewing as to how your leftovers end up. So I'll show you mine because I'm so random, to see some of the mess that mine ended up as. So you just want to trim these down so you've got some nice straight edges. Doesn't really matter if they're the same width, just have a straight edge on them and join them together again in sets of 5. And then you can trim them down either to squares, so you'll end up with roughly 7 inch squares, something 8 inch squares, something like that. Or I found when I did the red one, I ended up with oblongs. So I think I trimmed them down, I think they were 7.5 by 9, and joined them together. So when you join these together, let's find, where have I hidden that mat? I've got so many quilts here. You can either join them into a long little mat, or you can join them into the cushion. As I said at the beginning of the video, I joined these into squares and made them into a cushion. They were roughly 8 inch squares, I think, in the end, these ones. And again, trimmed leg cake pieces for the back of the cushion. For the little red one, it's the one I ended up with oblongs. So I don't know how I did that, but that's how it worked out. So you'll all end up different. So whatever it says in the instructions, you might end up with different sizes to me. Don't panic, because it really doesn't matter how you join these together. They're not supposed to meet up or match or anything. That's what's so good about it. When you're joining your pieces for the quilt together, it's up to you if you want them all going the same way. So you could put them next to each other, or you want to alternate them. So you've got one going up, the next one going across, the next one going up like that. Also, if you've got a pretty layer cake and you've got fabrics in it that are rather nice that you want to keep whole, keep them whole, but trim that block to the same as your wibbly wobbly blocks. So with the Kath Holden one, let's grab that, it's over here. As I said at the beginning, I kept one whole, and I've just alternated the other blocks around it. Okay, so it's a really simple project to do. You can make all sorts of things with it. You can make little needle books, little mats, all sorts of things, as well as the quilts. So it's a really good use of your layer cake fabric. You don't waste any fabric. I used every single scrap of the Kansas Troubles one. If you've got loads left, as I said, with the Kansas Trouble one, use them for doing the binding. So there's all different strips joined together on the binding for this one. Okay, so I think that's it. Have a good day. Thank you for watching. I'll come back and I'll do the Charm Pack Shuffle one, the one that's behind me, this one. So that's that junk journal fabric. That's a really simple quick quilt to make. Might see you on Create and Craft in a couple of weeks. Okay, thanks for watching, bye.